It was good for us to get a road win at Missouri. I think that's the most road wins we had as a program in 4 years. Is that correct? And with that fifth win, that's the most wins we've had here in the SEC since I've been here. So just happy that our guys are continuing to make strides as a program here in SEC play. Looking forward to a couple of days of rest here and getting ready for our next challenge here at home against Ole Miss.
I know for probably your blood pressure's sake, you would rather not see your team give up a double-digit lead, but it's a couple of times now that they've managed to hold on and still make the plays at the end of the game. Talk about your thoughts about the team in that progression.
Yeah, I think our team right now is learning how to deal with success. And that's not just a game-to-game situation. It also happens in-game. When you get up with 17 points, it's like, how do you continue to play the way that you need to play in order you got to keep that 17-point lead? And I think what happens with our guys is right now, they're still learning how to continue to play the right way that got them that 17-point lead. And I think we kind of get away from those things a little bit. And I think that's with any team. You get up big on a team with 17 points right there, and you start to figure out, like, hey, those guys are going to kind of, natural human behavior is to kind of be lackadaisical a little bit and start being a little bit more complacent. And we've got to learn as a team to continue to do the things that got us that lead.
You lost the lead against Ole Miss the last time that you played them. Do you think that maybe Saturday's win could kind of roll over and kind of a learning experience where they can kind of look back on that?
Oh, I would hope so, because it's a similar situation. Obviously, we were on the road. We got up big and played well for the most part. But I just think that Ole Miss has more weapons at this point in time than Missouri.
What do you see any differences in Ole Miss from the time they played y'all to now? I know it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I think what happens with Ole Miss at this point in time is the first thing that stands out to you is they're shooting so many more free throws than their opponents. So we've got to find a way to guard without fouling, but we also don't want to be so passive in guarding them that we're not intense on the defensive end. And I think what happens also is they've got three perimeter guys that put you in a bind. I think Jarvis Summers is a guy that can really make decisions well off the ball screen. Obviously, Moody is a guy that can score for them, kind of replace the scoring that they had with Marshall Henderson. But the guy that doesn't get a lot of credit is the way he's playing, Snoop White. I think Snoop White has made tremendous strides in his game. His three-point field goal percentage is way up from the previous year. And so, you got three guys on the perimeter who are legitimate threats. And then I think what Andy does, he does a good job with his bigs. He tells those guys when they get the opportunities, and when you start helping off those bigs, they become scorers as well too. And then also when a shot goes up on the rim, you've helped in some way, shape, or form, and now all of a sudden those guys are in position to get offensive rebounds. So they put you in a bind with their offense, and then they really put you on your heels with the defensive end, because defense for offense is all about playing rhythm. And defensively, what they do is they change defenses a lot. They go from a 1-3-1 to a 2-3 press into a 2-2-1, and then they do all these different things and switching man-to-man at times, so you're really on your heels and don't get into a rhythm on the offensive end.
Talking about Summers, I think he scored most of his points in the second half in that first meeting. Just what makes him so dangerous?
Yeah, he scored all of his points in the second half. Well, I think first of all that, and I don't know if you quite understand this, but it's like he's one guy that doesn't get sped up. A lot of point guards in situations, once you start to pressure them a little bit, they start to make decisions fast and they start to make wrong decisions fast. But he's the type of guy that once you pressure him, he just stays calm and he makes the right decisions. So I think that's his biggest attribute as a player. Then the other thing is he just kind of sees what the defense is giving him. If you come double him, he passes it to the open guy. If he's a guy that's a one-on-one situation, he can make penetration plays. He makes those penetration plays. If you're playing off of him, he calmly makes jump shots. But I think when it's all said and done, it's about him not getting sped up. He's seen everything. He just stays calm throughout the whole process.
You've had success against Ole Miss here at home. I know it's always important to win your home games, but how much more so is it in this rivalry game?
Well, I think it's huge because you don't want to go through the whole summer knowing that you got swept by your rival.
Will Oliver be back, or is it game time?
We don't know that yet. It's all about the progression of that concussion. I mean, today he'll do some things on the court, but it'll be non-contact. And then if he goes through the non-contact without any problem, he wakes up with no headaches, no setbacks, and he'll go into contact. And then if he has contact and there's no headaches or anything from that, then it can progress to being cleared. So
was it in practice or a game?
It was in practice. Mm-hmm.
Coach, do you think what happened Saturday night could actually help kind of bond and strengthen your team as a shared experience? Or was it one of those things where you actually went through it, it's not as big a deal as maybe outsiders?
Well, I don't want to have to go through having the engine blown out to have some team bonding situation to make our team better. But, it's hard to say that because here's the bottom line is you got 14 different personalities on your team. And, for some guy, I'm sure it's going to affect him the next road trip. He's going to be a little apprehensive about getting on the plane, and then it might affect the way he plays on that road trip the next time. There'll be some guys who didn't bother one iota, and they're just going to go about their business the same way. There'll be some guy who gets shook up for it the first game, and then it doesn't affect him the rest of the time. So you just don't know. For me, I didn't think it was a huge deal because, everything ended up turning out all right, and that's just the way I am. I just don't get rattled by things like that. So, when the pilot and the stewardess came back and told me that everything was going to be all right and we landed safely, we landed just as well with one engine as we did with two engines. So to me, everything turned out all right.
Kind of watching IJ, it seems like, I know you always want to be up-tempo, but he seems more aggressive when you guys are out running early in a game than he is when the team is slowing you down in half court. Is that just the way his game is, or any way to get him out or to be aggressive in both sets? Or?
No, I think what happens is Paul is, he's small. And then when you're playing fast in transition, size really doesn't matter. But when you get in a half-court setting, then size ends up mattering. So I think his size kind of limits him in a half-court setting more so than the full-court setting. So, and I just think there's so much space for him to make plays in the full court than it is in the half-court setting. So, I just think when it's all said and done, it boils down to his lack of size at times in those half-court settings.
How refreshing was that to see those Saturday, him taking shots early and I guess in transition, getting out quick?
Yeah, it's huge for us, but I tell you, I think he might have had the biggest play of the game is when he split the defense in that zone and was able to find Rockwell Johnson for that dunk because he made an individual play and then found the open man. So, but his willingness to put his head in there during the crunch time is really what you want to see, and he did that.
In lieu of what happened Saturday night, is there going to be any adjustments to y'all's travel plans in the future?
In what regard?
Like as far as travel arrangement, using different plane companies and things like that.
Well, obviously, with the information is just starting to come out, and believe me, I don't have all the details of that. I've just been watching tape, and that's something that our administration is going to take a look at. But I think there's been some information that's come out that doesn't paint that company in a good manner. We'll find out what's the best thing to do because when it's all said and done, this is all about the student welfare. So if we don't want to put our guys in a situation where it's not the best situation for student welfare. So if that's changing, charter plane companies going out doing something different, then that's what we'll do because when it's all said and done, we got to make sure we're protecting our student athletes.
I know he's still a couple weeks away with senior day and all, but being a guy like Roquez, the only holdover from the old staff, and just the way he's developed, just talk about how much it speaks to his mindset where, he could have bolted too, but he's continued to get better each and every year.
Yeah, well, I think it speaks to like Roquez's toughness. And that's when it's all said and done. He's a guy that perseveres through things, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that he stuck with this program and stuck with me. And it's I was kind of joking around with Coach Akins, that Coach Akins said, I never thought today I'd see where Rockwell Johnson was scoring 25 points, 22 points. He just didn't think that he was going to ever see that when you saw him play as a freshman. So it speaks to the fact that he's put time in on his individual game and got better as a basketball player to put himself in position to score 22 points or score 25 points. So I think all the credit goes to Rockwell with that.
You thankful after the travel on Saturday and Sunday that the game is until Thursday?
I tell you what, it's good in this regard because our guys really didn't have a day off on Sunday. We were supposed to get back here Saturday and then have a full day off Sunday. But unfortunately, we ended up traveling on Sunday. So now we can treat today. We'll have a very short practice and lift weights. So I want to kind of give our guys this day off as well, too, a little bit. So we might be on the court for a half hour, and then we'll lift weights. But so we're going to give our guys this day off as well, too, once it's all said and done. But I would like, from a travel standpoint, that our guys got back on Saturday night, and then we had the full day off Sunday without doing anything. But unfortunately, it didn't happen like that, so we'll change some things a little bit to try to give our guys a little bit more rest.
What are some of the challenges that are presented in playing a team second time? Both Ole Miss and Arkansas played them, both lost. you did that against Tennessee, but one, what are the challenges that playing a team twice present?
Well, I don't know if there's any challenges. I think the only challenge is the fact that they have information on you. I think the best way to scout a team is to look at what you've already done against that particular team. But I don't see it as a challenge in regards because, like, we can look at what we done against them, and then they can look at what they did against us. So we're both kind of on even playing ground there. So I just think that you got to look at tendencies when it's all said and done by a chance to look at your own game. To me, that's the most important game tape. I know some other teams just got done playing Ole Miss and Arkansas, and we'll obviously look at those game tapes to see if there's anything we can pick up from that. But the most important information that we'll get is from watching our game.
In regards to learning to deal with success, how big was that win in Missouri in the sense that it was a 2-game losing streak and you stopped it and didn't make it go to 3 or 4, how many of it did in the past?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for us, though, is not like going into it with that mindset, but the fact that we would have been really disappointed that we played well at Mizzou and not being able a chance to hang on for that win. So I think that would have been more for our confidence, not in regards to the 2-game losing streak, but the fact that you played so well at Mizzou and then you end up with a loss. So to me, that would have been more detrimental than anything.
But does it, I guess in a different way, does it show the growth of the team in the sense that these losing streaks are ending or 1 or 2 games instead of the long that we saw in the first 2 seasons, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and you know, when you're playing in a conference like the SEC, you're going to lose 2 games in a row at some point in time. What you can't have, you just can't have it fester into a situation where it's 3 games, 5 games. So I think our guys are doing a better job of having that mindset. But at the end of the day, too, is we have more bodies in order to combat that.
What's made this league better this year? Has it been teams being more experienced or the parity, or?
Well, I think it's the teams in the bottom of the conference being better. It's teams like us, you know, that used to be in a situation where you go on a 13-game losing streak in the conference, and we're just not doing that anymore. You look at a team like Mizzou, who's supposed to be in the bottom of the conference. I mean, they could have very well beat us. They could have very well beat Arkansas. You know, that kid missed 2 free throws at the end of the game to lose. So I think it's the teams in the bottom of the conference that have gotten better, that are actually beating some of these teams. Auburn just won at Georgia. I don't think that would have happened last year. So I think that's when it's all said and done. It's about those bottom tier teams in the conference playing better.
What is it about having the home court advantage in this rivalry? And just, I guess, the energy that you guys feed off of when you're here compared to when you're playing them at the Tech Pad?
Well, I don't know. I thought our last game there was the first time we actually played well there. And I think that has more to do with the fact that we're just a better team and we have more bodies in order to do that. I think if you look at it, I think everybody traditionally plays well at home compared to playing on the road. But then when you add the rivalry part of it, and you know that you're going to have a great fan base, and the fans are going to come here, you know, supporting you and just coming in with a little bit more hatred in their veins when they walk in, I think it ends up making a difference and providing a little bit more energy to our guys.
What's tougher on a guy getting 6'5", 6'6", and up, a cramped little charter plane or a long bus ride?
Well, for me, it was my family went to the game with us. So I grew up in Kansas City, so I got a chance for my parents to see their grandkids, and I got a chance to see my nieces and nephews. I don't get a chance to see them. So the hardest part was it was going to be an hour plane ride that turned into a 6-hour bus ride, and that doesn't go very well with an 18-month-old and a 4-month-old. So I would say the bus ride.
One more question? Okay.